In this episode, I'm doing some street photography in Toronto with my friends Andy Stroat and Mick Cousins. And we're going to be looking at 5 ideas, 5 ways that we can approach our street/travel photography. I'm going to be sharing a selection of photos from all 3 of us from our little walkabout, because we're all visiting the same spots, but we're seeing things differently. And I find that really interesting. So I figured you'd find it interesting too. The first location we visited in Toronto was the Flatiron Building. It's been shot so many times, it's probably the most photographed building in Toronto other than the CN Tower. Here's a couple of those cliched shots that everybody takes. I took these over the last 2 visits I was here. So this time I challenged myself to find new ways to shoot this building. And that's my first, I was going to say tip. It's not a tip, it's just an idea, a suggestion. This is probably my favourite thing to do when I'm travelling somewhere that's been photographed to death already. It's a really good way of unleashing our creativity and experimenting, trying new things, and isn't that what it's all about, having fun, being creative? It's also the best way to improve as a photographer, in my opinion. Another approach I took with this building, and this is suggestion number 2, and that's to embrace the chaos. People carefully compose this shot to avoid construction signs, wires, cables and posts, but they are there, so why not include them and see what we get? It's an honest photo. It's reality.
Looking at the colour of the light, the sun bouncing onto the trees, hoping to get something in the background, not too busy.
If you look at the side of the church, you're nearly convinced you're somewhere else. It's really odd because when I go to Europe, I go to all the churches. I've never been in this church. See, now it's mandatory when you shoot shots down here that you get a streetcar in your shot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
Mandatory.
Yeah, pretty much. So people stand a great distance away with a bit of a long lens and compressor, so the streetcar's coming right at you.
So what are we doing, Andy?
We're having a coffee is what we're doing. Funny if you live here and you're so used to the environment that nothing seems new. So I think you have to work a little harder to see something that's a little bit different. So a minute ago we were at the church there. I knew the church is there, but I'd never really paid much attention to it. We've got beautiful light this morning. There's still leaves on the trees, so there's nice shadows on the church. You get a bit of light play going on. So you see something that it's been there, but you just haven't paid any attention to. And I mean, there are shots, we were looking earlier at the Flatiron Building, shots you've seen 1,000 times, but again, for somebody who's new here, that's different. It's sometimes not an advantage to be too familiar with something because everything seems like you've seen it all. And so you like to see something new. So, for me, I think, I'll go to a different city, so a different place, and then everything will be fresh and new. And it is. But here you have to work a little harder if it's your local city.
The next idea or approach is probably the most popular approach to street photography, and that's to look for light and dark, for contrast. A dark back street with a beam of light shining down and capturing somebody just as they're walking through that light. This is my least favourite type of street photography because that's what most people do, and I like to do something a little bit different. Although backlighting with contrast, that's something I really like, and you'll see as an example of that shortly. The one thing that we all saw on our walkabout was reflections, the play of light reflecting off of buildings, and I suppose that comes under the light-dark contrast category, loosely. What are you shooting with, Mick?
OM1 with a 7-14 and the EM1 Mark III with a 12-100. Handy little DJI Osmo Pocket for time lapses. Being used to being in nature, landscapes coming into a city, it is overwhelming. The eye is drawn all over the place. So it's difficult.
Famous bicycle rings. People have shot these things all kinds of times. Nobody's using them, so they're nice and clean. There's bikes on that one though.
So what do we got there, Andy?
Massive reflections. You just can never tell what you're going to get depending, and this will change during the day obviously, but this is amazing. Have a look.
I really love shooting colour and looking for colours, whether it's a tiny splash of colour that's making the image pop, or complementary colours like this donut that I shot in the window. As I move forward with my street photography, colour is probably going to be at the top of my list to really work on. The last idea on my list is capturing the culture of a place. That's the essence of the place, which means capturing the people, because people are the culture. They create the place, and what they do, how they work, how they cook. I mean, all of those things are just so fascinating to me. Whatever city you travel to, I think that's the most interesting story to tell. Well, there are my 5 ideas. Hope you found those useful. I appreciate you watching. Give it a thumbs up, a like, and we'll see you next time.